Awesome. Thanks, Drew. Are you ready to get things kicked off, Drew? We're about 5 minutes after right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited. Welcome all to Digital Marketing Quarterly. Really excited to have you all here today and to be learning about social media marketing and how to effectively use social media marketing for your business. We really have some great content I'm looking forward to, and so happy to be doing the introduction today for this rock star, Drew Tumlinson, Web4 Senior Advertising Specialist, is a social media expert. And today he's going to be teaching us how to effectively and efficiently use social media to grow your business. Drew was recently working with professors at WSU, Washington State University, to build out their social media certification program. And Drew, I'll go ahead and hand it off to you from here and let you share with the crowd.
Cool. Thank you so much, Michael. Yeah, really looking forward to this event. And just full disclosure, I did pre-record this, so I will be available to answer Q&As during the presentation if you want to send those over. Otherwise, feel free to wait till the end and we'll have a Q&A session as well. So yeah, we'll get started. Hello, and welcome to the Social Media Marketing Digital Marketing Quarterly event. I'm so excited to talk about how to effectively and efficiently use social media for your business. So let's just dive in. I'm Drew. I use he, him pronouns. I'm Web4 Senior Advertising Specialist. I manage both our paid and social media departments, and I am extremely passionate about helping businesses reach their target audience online. Outside of work, I love spending time with my wife and our son, Oliver. I love watching the latest true crime documentary on Netflix. I definitely watched Dahmer. And I also enjoy spending time on the Oregon coast. I love the beach, as you can see there. I'd love to spend more time in Hawaii, but that is an expensive trip, so the Oregon coast will do. I'm so excited to dive into all things social media advertising today. We're going to cover what social media marketing is, why it's important for your business, and how to get started. So you are going to want to stick around. We're going to actually walk through the process of determining a social media strategy for a small business. So you'll definitely want to stick around. Let's get started. So what is social media marketing? Simply put, it's the use of social media to promote your business. Of course, it can be far more complex, how your social media and overall marketing strategy should intertwine, your use of branding and messaging, different goals for different platforms, how to measure social media success, all that kind of stuff. But at its core, social media is about building relationships. It's about building connections with your audience, relating to users, helping them feel seen, heard, validated, which is really what we all want, right? And this is why we're attracted to certain social media profiles, like Duolingo comes to mind. They have a great social media presence that's super relatable, doesn't really have a lot to do with their actual brand, except that it's their brand mascot, and they relate things back to their product. So some types of social media marketing. One is management. This is also referred to as organic social media, and the other is advertising or paid social media. So let's dive into each of those. Social media management, also referred to as organic social media marketing, is the process of creating, publishing, promoting, and managing content across social media channels. So what exactly does that mean, and what does that look like? The first thing social media management consists of is curating content topics. This means looking through all available content, other social platforms, your website, your YouTube, your competitors even, trends on different social platforms could spark content topics, that sort of thing. And you're going to want to list all this out somewhere. So for us, we use Airtable, which is like a spreadsheet, but it's just enhanced to that next level. I absolutely love it. I have a blog about Airtable and how we use it on the Web4 blog if you want to check that out if you're interested. The next thing is actually creating the content. This is everything from actually shooting photos and videos or coordinating with other team members or sourcing different graphics and images or creating those graphics. It can even include things like writing blog posts so that you can pull from that content and promote pieces of it through social media. It also means writing captions, and simple, right? No. Well, sometimes. As with anything, there's moments where captions just effortlessly flow through you, and other times you're just left staring at a blank screen. Sometimes you hit that creative block and it's just really hard to write a caption. So, just for some insight, there's times where I can craft a week's worth of captions across multiple platforms in as little as 30 minutes. But other times it can take over an hour. It really just depends on the industry, the client, whether or not I'm running into a creative block that day. Um, you know, it's easy for me to come up with captions for Webforce Social, for example. It's much harder for me to come up with social captions for the local roofer that we work with, or the local construction company that we work with, or someone like that, where I don't know a whole lot about the industry, so I have to do some research. But then that research uncovers tons and tons of opportunities that actually tend to fill out much more than just the week ahead. It also means determining what hashtags are going to be used. How many hashtags should every post have on Instagram? What about TikTok, Facebook? Do you really need to include hashtags on every platform or every post? The short answer is no. In fact, I'd argue some of the platforms where hashtags have been historically crucial are starting to actually analyze the caption text or the text on screen more often than not, ignoring the hashtags. So, what this really relays to is SEO. You now have TikTok SEO, Instagram SEO, Facebook SEO, all these different platforms. That does not mean that you should ignore hashtags, though. They are still important, and in some instances, for certain platforms and certain profiles, they're actually vital to your growth and your success. So, as with everything, test, test, test. Test out 3 hashtags per post versus 5 versus hashtags with tons and tons of following or tons and tons of posts versus very new and niche hashtags. Typically, what I see is a mix of the two, those bigger kind of trending hashtags and those more niche hashtags. That tends to lead to success. If you're doing social media management, you're also going to be scheduling or manually posting your posts. So, did you know that not everything can be scheduled to post? For example, until recently, TikToks and Instagram Reels could not be scheduled. So, those all had to be manually posted, meaning that the content had to be uploaded. Maybe the video needs to be sent to your phone, the caption copied, the hashtags copied, and then you have to actually log into the account and post it that way. You can now do this through tools like Buffer, but you still can't schedule story posts on Instagram and Facebook through tools such as Buffer, which is what we use. But I imagine that'll change soon because we couldn't always do it with video, and now we can. And I just think that there's going to be more and more demand for that sort of thing. And so it's going to be more important for places or for tools to be offering that. Part of that is the social media platforms APIs have to allow for tools to publish on the platforms. So some of it is, Instagram has to open up that capability for tools to be able to do that. So once these posts are drafted, creative assets are created, the post is ready to go live, we need to schedule it. So you're either going to put this into a tool like Buffer, like I said, or you're going to have to manually post it. You'll have to figure out a method that works well for you. For manually posting, I typically set a reminder for myself on the day and time, leaving details of what needs to be posted. And if I can, a link to the Airtable cell that it's in or something like that, or even put it all in draft mode on Instagram or TikTok, and then just go in and hit post. So it's really whatever works for you. You have to kind of figure that process out for yourself and your internal team if you have one. But yeah, if you can use a tool like Buffer, I highly recommend it. It's just far less manual labor. Now your posts are live. Now what do? You analyze what worked, what didn't work, Why didn't it work? Why did it work? Do we need to test a different time of day, a different day of the week, a different post frequency, post type? Is video outperforming carousels? Are carousels outperforming video? I have seen that on occasion, even recently. So one little caveat: before you analyze the success of social, just be sure that your goal is very, very clear. And we're going to talk about some of this later on in the presentation. But you want to make sure, are you looking for followers, engagement, reach? Like, what is the goal of your social strategy that you're currently running? That way you can look at the correct KPIs for each goal. For example, if your goal is engagement and you're reporting, wow, we got 100 new followers in a week. Okay, that can be indicative of something. However, if your goal is engagement, it doesn't really matter how many people you're getting in front of if they're not actually engaging. So just make sure that you're measuring the right KPIs so that you can accurately analyze each post and the overall strategy. Now, this analysis should be done monthly to be able to identify any sort of trends, and then, of course, quarterly, yearly, biannually, whatever cadence kind of works for you, depending on how active you are and that sort of thing. But looking at the bigger picture, looking at more of a broad date range is going to allow you to identify those trends more easily. You're going to see those spikes and those drops a lot clearer than if you're looking at daily or weekly. But it is important to also look at weekly. Looking at weekly analytics, you're going to identify, man, this post really took off. I'm going to replicate that again this week and see if it still takes off. Then you can start testing, is it the creative? Is it the caption? Is it the hashtag strategy? Like, what about that type of post is performing well? And then keep replicating that for other areas of your business, drive overall engagement, all that sort of thing. So that's the overview of social media marketing, the organic side. So let's talk a little bit about social media advertising. Social media advertising is really just putting dollars behind your efforts. This can include boosting posts or running specific ad campaigns on different platforms. Running paid social ads alongside a winning organic social strategy will really help improve your efforts. And there's a few ways you can run social ads. So let's look at them. The first way is to boost posts. This is saying, I put up this organic post and it's performing well. I want to put $10 towards it to reach even more of an audience. The main benefit of boosting posts is that you don't have to create new ads. You don't have to come up with new creative. You can just say, boost this post and put some dollars behind it. And it's really low cost. So you can really just jump in, boost a post, see what happens, go from there. Boost a different post, that sort of thing. Just kind of test and rinse and repeat. It is affordable. You can do it with as little as, $10 per post. And then maybe, if you see one doing really well, then up that and do $20 and see how that does. And then, continue going from there. The second method is to run an actual ad campaign. So this would be similar to how you run ads on Google search, for example. The main difference is actually how you target. So with Google search, you're targeting based on keywords. So you're targeting based on people actually performing a search for your product or related terms. Versus social media, you're actually targeting based on the audience. So you're targeting based on, does this user fit in my audience that I've defined? Are they in the location that I've set? Are they interested in the things that I've identified as being relevant for my ideal target audience? And then from there, you can continually refine once you have some data from your ad campaigns. But this requires a whole setup. You have to set up the campaign, the ad sets, and then the actual ads. Of course, monitoring performance and making adjustments as you go, making changes if you need to on the fly, using different creative, all that kind of stuff. So your organic strategy can definitely inform a paid campaign. It can influence, if you know what works and what's attention grabbing, replicate those types of graphics or videos for your ad campaigns. They're probably going to perform well there too. But ad campaigns are also a great way to test new ideas, because you're going to be able to ensure that you're showing to a big enough audience to gather some data, so that you can determine, okay, I know that this had dollars behind it, but I know that the engagement rate was much higher. So now I'm going to test that over on the organic side and see if the engagement rate is higher there as well. So as you can see, it really, they tie together, and I highly recommend running both. I highly recommend running an organic strategy with ad campaigns. Again, we'll get into that in a moment. So that's social media advertising. That's what social media is. You know how to show up on social media, but why should you? Why is it important for your business to be on social media marketing or on social media channels? Your audience is on social media, number one. No matter what industry you're in, your audience is spending time on social media. They might be on a specific platform. They might be on some very niche platform, but they are on social media. I guarantee it. And just to give you some insight, 69% of US adults are on Facebook, 40% on Instagram, 28% on LinkedIn, and 21% on TikTok. So I want you to take note that these are just US adults. So if your audience is international or under 18, or can be international or under 18, your pool just opened up. This is just US adults, so keep that in mind. There's plenty of users under 18 on TikTok, for example. So if that's your target audience, there's an even bigger pool there for your business. Not only are users on social media, they're spending an average of 147 minutes on social media per day. That is just under 2.5 hours that you could be showing up and connecting with your audience. And again, I want you to remember, this is just an average. I know for me, my number is far higher than this. I've looked in my analytics on my phone and I'm appalled, mainly because I know that I'm also spending a ton of time on social media for work. And so there's a ton of time spent on social media on my computer that's not accounted for there. And it's my job, so, that's part of it. But even if I just was tracking my personal use, I guarantee it is more than 147 minutes a day. So yeah, your audience is sitting on social media. Why not capture their attention while they're there and connect with them? Social media marketing is also cost effective. I mentioned this a little bit, but what would take hundreds or thousands or even more to achieve through traditional marketing can be achieved in as little as $10 through social media advertising. So for example, on Instagram, like I mentioned, you can boost a post for about $10 and reach around 1,000 people. What would $10 get you in a traditional advertising space? Short of a handshake, probably nothing. So I think it's really clear it's very cost effective to be able to get in front of your audience. Not only that, you can get in front of your audience, your ideal customer. You can target based on likes, dislikes, marital status, where users are, businesses they've visited, places that they've reviewed, Facebook pages that they like, all that sort of stuff, and so much more. You can get really specific with affinity, interests, and just interests in general, and advanced demographics, and tons and tons of things. So the point is, you can get in front of that target ideal customer that you're looking for. Your business can use all of this data to target specific individuals on social platforms, and that's going to give you the best ad results. So going back to that cost-effective piece, it's going to be even more cost-effective because you can really narrow down who you're targeting. Great. Now you know what to do on social media and why it's so important to be there, but how do you do it? Don't worry, I got you. We're going to go through determining your goal, finding your audience, test, measure, and repeat, and what that means. So what's your goal on social media? Are you looking for long-term loyalty or quick returns? The answer is probably both, and I think that's a great answer. You want to have a solid organic strategy to help build your brand. This is your long-term investment that helps build those relationships that are so important on social media. It also helps improve your overall reputation and just builds that foundation where people can go do their social proofing. They can say, oh, this is a real business. They're active on social media. They're invested. Their values align with mine, that sort of thing. Running an ad campaign and boosting posts will help you achieve some of your goals faster, giving you a positive ROI to keep investing in your long-term success. So find your audience. Where are they? We know they're on social, but what platforms are they on specifically? Where they are is where you want to show up. You want to have a solid, engaged, and active strategy in place. Meet people where they are and show up authentically. But for the places where they aren't, you still want to claim your username and fill out your profile so your information is accurate and you have your branded username if or when you want to start building a presence there too. Maybe user behavior shifts and now your users are spending more time over on this profile. Well, instead of having to start from scratch and maybe getting your branded username or maybe not getting your branded username, you're already there, and then you just start posting your strategy there. The next step is to test, measure, and repeat. So the first thing you're going to do is test. You're going to determine a strategy that you can stick to for 14 to 30 days. Maybe this is posting once a day or 5 times a day on one single platform. Maybe it's posting 3 times on 3 different platforms. Whatever's feasible for at least 14 days is best. And remember, you can test small things one by one, building up a winning strategy based on real life data. So don't feel like you have to do everything perfectly in every test. After that 14 to 30 day period, you want to see if there are any fruits of your labor. I'm sure you'll have seen some successes or at least be able to see trends of what type of content gets the best reach, for example. But analyze that. What's working? What's not? What should I continue to implement and what should I change? So like I said, you're going to take what you learned, identify where and how to improve, and adjust your strategy and start testing a new one. This process will continue for the entirety of your social media presence. So I mean forever. Social media is continually evolving. New trends, algorithm updates, user behavior changes, and so much more is constantly changing. So your strategy needs to be changing as well. What works well this month might not work well next month. What works well this year might not work well next year. Who knows? So we have to be continually updating. So that's the overall process. And the last thing I want to do is walk through an example together. So let's walk through this process for a local coffee shop. So the first step is determine your goal. So if we're a local coffee shop, we are looking to build our brand on social media. Obviously, we also want to be driving traffic. We want to be getting sales. We want to be having customers come into our location, that sort of thing. But at our core, we're building our brand. So who is our audience? For those of you that get this Johnny Tsunami reference, you're welcome. If you don't, I'm sorry. But your ideal customer is Johnny Tsunami, a hip, local, young entrepreneur in need of a place to work on projects, fuel up on caffeine, and grab a snack. And just a little side note here. If you're not sure who your audience is or who your ideal customer is, go ahead and check out Web4's Ideal Customer Profile worksheet for help, and also feel free to reach out to us. We are happy to run through this process with you and help you identify your audience and where they're spending their time. So it looks like our ideal customer is spending the bulk of their time on TikTok and Instagram. Great, noted. This is due to their age range and their interests. So the test. We're going to post 3 or more TikToks per day for at least 14 days. We're going to download those videos without the TikTok watermark to repurpose them on Instagram as well. Now, keep in mind that we'll need to write different captions and utilize different hashtags for TikTok versus Instagram. All right, it's been 14 days. How'd we do? Did we gain any followers, more engagement, website views, foot traffic? Did any current customers mention our improved social media presence? Now really dig into the analytics. Which videos had the best watch times, the best engagement? When did followers peak? And how does that correlate with what had already posted? You're going to take all this and you're going to move into the repeat step. So now we know what worked and what didn't. And keep in mind, there are always going to be things that did not work, and that's okay. This is all a learning process. It's figuring out what works for you and your audience, not what works for general population necessarily. So now we can adjust and create a new method to test. Let's say we discovered that 3 posts per day works great on TikTok, but not on Instagram. So for the next 14 days, we're going to continue posting 3 times or more per day on TikTok and reduce to just 1 reel per day on Instagram. And we're going to sprinkle in 3 carousel posts per week on Instagram to see how that performs. It's important to remember that each time you start this process over, you continue to build on what's already working. So let's say we're in test 2 and those 3 posts per day are still working great on TikTok. And we've discovered that Instagram Reels, while we're getting great reach, it's just not resulting in anything. But those carousel posts had a really high engagement. So maybe the next test that we're going to do is a primarily carousel post focused strategy. And maybe we're going to increase our TikTok production. Maybe we're going to test out some different types of videos on TikTok, that sort of thing. So just to give you an example of what a small coffee shop's TikTok and Instagram feed could look like, here's Onyx Coffee Lab, who I think is doing a really great job on social media. Their feeds are really aesthetically pleasing, clearly altered for the right platform, but sharing the same core concepts on each. It's very clear that this is all branded very well. It's obvious that this is the same brand on Instagram and TikTok. You can see they have quite a few followers, so they've really built things up. They have roughly the same followers on TikTok and Instagram, which is kind of interesting. I typically see one or the other has way, way more than the other one. But yeah, so this is an example of what a really great feed could look like. And you can look them up on Instagram and TikTok to check out, their hashtag use and their captions and that sort of thing, because I do think that they're a great example. All right, so let's recap. We went over a lot today. We defined social media marketing as a relationship building method. We explored organic and paid social media marketing and talked about the differences. Emphasized the importance of social media. Your audience is there. It's cost effective. It's highly targeted. And then we walked through how to get started, defining your goal, finding your audience, and test, measure, and repeat. So thank you all so much for attending today's Digital Marketing Quarterly event. I'm happy to stick around and answer questions now, but if you think of anything or just want to say hi after, please feel free to reach out to me on any social media platform at DrewSkiParker, through my website, drewskiparker.com, or of course through Web4. So thank you.
All right, well, we'll go ahead when Drew is ready and open it up for Q&A.
Yeah, I'm down for that now. If anybody has any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I will stick around and answer them. Or if there are no questions, that's cool too.
Yeah, I was just going to say we could probably keep it open for another minute. But I want to say that that was awesome, Drew. And I really loved how you were able to talk about the test and measure portion and really talk about how you can really gain a ton of insights from that portion of the process, among the whole journey you shared about the strategy of social media and why it's so important for the business. So yeah, let's go ahead and leave it open for another minute. But awesome job. That was a great presentation.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It looks like we got a couple questions here. Jason asked, which social platform do you enjoy the most? I mean, personally, I'm scrolling TikTok 100% of the time. Like any free moment I have, I'm on TikTok. I don't know what it is about that short video format, but it just really pulls me in and I can't seem to get off of it. And I was actually late to that party. I was not a fan of TikTok. I was not a fan of Vine before it became TikTok. So yeah, I was kind of late to that party, but now I can't seem to get myself off. But for a business, I really like, well, I don't like Facebook, but I love that Facebook has so much data that we can use to be able to make sure we're getting our message in front of the right audience. So yeah. Matt asked, what social media platforms do you see are rising in the next few years? I don't I don't know about specific platforms, but I think anything that can compete with TikTok is really gonna come to the forefront. I mean, Be Real is a newer platform where basically, for those of you that don't know, it sends you a notification randomly in the day and just says like snap a picture, and it takes picture using your front and back facing camera. So it's, you know, whatever you're looking at and yourself. So it's pretty candid, pretty in the moment. And then, I mean, Michael mentioned the other day that that Kevin and I were at a WSU event talking about the certificate program, and they actually asked about Be Real and how does that, like, how can businesses use Be Real? And honestly, I don't know right now, because it's a very personal platform. I'd imagine in the future they're going to open up a ad platform, so it won't necessarily be businesses on Be Real using Be Real in that way, but they can, you know, place ads kind of like YouTube. Although you could also run your own YouTube ads. So yeah, I think anything that can compete with TikTok, anything that can be authentic and engaging, and I think short form content is really the way that it's going to go. But I think the short form content is really going to drive the need for long form content on your website, or, you know, longer form YouTube videos or something like that, that you can cut up into those shorter pieces to share on other platforms. Let's see. I can't boost anything on Facebook anymore. I'm a musician with a basic site. Do I need a music specific page? I think you mean the category of your page on Facebook. It is possible. I'm not actually sure about that specifically, but if you fill out the form on the Webforce site, I will look into that for you and help you out with that. So just shoot us a message letting us know, you know, kind of what you're running into. Mention that you were in this event, and I'll jump on that for you. Let's see. Do you do marketing, help with websites, etc.? Yeah, so personally, I do the paid and social media advertising at Web4, but we are a full service digital marketing firm. So yeah, we do everything from designing and developing websites to SEO. And I mean, really any and everything you can think of, we have done to some extent, branding, content writing, all that sort of thing. Let's see. When your target market is B2B and on LinkedIn, do you have any recommendations when it comes to social media on LinkedIn? I think LinkedIn is really interesting. I was just talking with one of my colleagues earlier today about why we should be running ads on LinkedIn. And he brought up the point of, you know, LinkedIn tends to be really expensive, and it is one of the more expensive social platforms. However, it tends to be more qualified leads. So you might pay a little bit more for social ads there, but it probably would pay off just because of their targeting. But from an organic perspective, I think being active and engaging with community members is going to be the most beneficial part, because you can, you know, show up on LinkedIn in terms of, you know, putting up organic posts and whatnot, but it seems like the algorithm has really shifted to that engagement focused algorithm similar to Instagram and TikTok and all the other platforms. Let's see. Do you think YouTube Shorts could overtake TikTok? Theoretically, yes, that's the exact kind of platform that I'm thinking of. However, I don't think that YouTube will do it, only because they came for IGTV back in the day and failed. They're good at long form content. That's just what YouTube is good at. And not that they can't shift and adapt, but I think it would take a very big shift. And I have not seen as much reach on YouTube Shorts as people have gotten on TikTok and Instagram Reels. So I don't know. I think it's possible, but I don't know that it will actually happen. Let's see. The FCC commissioner recently called for a ban of TikTok. Do you think this will derail business budgets, or are there similar avenues that can be used if TikTok is no longer available? I think if TikTok is no longer available, I mean, it'll just go to Instagram Reels, maybe YouTube Shorts, maybe, you know, some of those other areas. But yeah, I think it'll just kind of be directed elsewhere, because those short form content videos, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's on your website even, are performing the best right now. So I think that that kind of content is really going to be really important for any social presence moving forward. Let's see. Someone asked, do you do YouTube promotion? What's the name of your company? So I work for Web4. That's the company that I'm with. And yeah, we work with pretty much anyone as long as they're a good fit for us. We do, I think you mean YouTube ads by YouTube promotion. We do that. So we can definitely help out with that. You mentioned about length of time for certain campaigns. Are there limits, even if it continues to do well, or should you just ride the wave for months and months? So I think you're talking about the testing period that I mentioned, the 14 to 30 days. So the reason I mentioned 14 to 30 days is you want to have enough data to actually make a decision. So if you've been doing a specific strategy, testing something for 2 days, and you're like, oh, this isn't working. Well, you probably don't have enough data to decide that yet. So give it a couple of weeks, let the algorithm catch up, and then be able to really analyze the data. I mean, I think as far as limits, like some campaigns, if they're doing really well, whether that's an ad campaign or an organic campaign, if they're doing well, like don't change anything. Or, you know, like I was mentioning, continue building on what's working, and expanding that reach further and further and further. So yeah, I am really thinking about outsourcing my social media, but my biggest concern is losing the personal, authentic tone. How can I ensure I don't lose that when outsourcing social to an agency? First of all, like Web4 is the best at this. Not that I'm biased or anything like that, but we work really hard with all of our clients to make sure that the branding and messaging is very, very clear from the get-go, so that it does come across authentically. And it's in, you know, the company's brand voice, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think it really comes down to just meeting with the agency or whoever is going to be running your social, and having that conversation with them, being candid with them about, hey, I have this concern. But most social media managers are already aware of this. They know social media is a personal platform, and they're going to be working to have that authentic tone, because that's actually going to be the most successful for them and in turn for you. Web4, not sure of the spelling. What is your site? Looking for someone to help get traffic to my YouTube channel. Yeah, so you spelled it right. webfor.com. All right. I think that was our last question, at least so far. Really appreciate all the questions and all the engagement, everyone. It's been really fun to be able to talk through all this with everybody, answer some questions, get some different perspectives. Yeah.
Awesome, Drew. That was so insightful. And I know I learned so much from your presentation. And I know the audience had some great takeaways. And just by the number of questions, obviously was so helpful. And really appreciate you sharing how to use social media effectively and efficiently to grow their business in 2022 and beyond. Thank you so much for taking the time, Drew, to share your knowledge with everyone. And just wanted to take a moment to thank all the attendees for joining this Digital Marketing Quarterly event on social media, and looking forward to future DMQs. Thank you all and have a great night.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.